In the first of these films about Harmony's new economic model, we looked at what has been revised. But now it's time to look at the reasons behind the revision in more detail.
But let's start with a little bit of history. Now, on June the 27th, 2007, arguably the greatest single piece of computer hardware of the 21st century was launched to great fanfare. I'm, of course, talking about the iPhone. Well, not this one. The original was kind of fat and chunky and didn't really work very well, but you know what I mean. Now, before this, there were phones like the Trio 700W or the Nokia Communicator, and basically as things got more complicated on the inside, they also got more complicated on the outside. But what Steve Jobs realized was that if he was to bring all of this complexity to a greater public, he needed to make the experience as simple as possible. So what does that have to do with blockchain?
So let's start by looking at a typical formula that expresses the minting function of a blockchain. There it is. Now, obviously we understand that RJ is the number of tokens issued at year K, and then nothing. It's gibberish to most people. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good formula, but if we apply Jobs thinking to it, it just doesn't stand up. You see, at Harmony, we believe an economic model should be expressible in a single sentence. But what single sentence? That's the question. Einstein once said, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, then you don't really understand it. But I rather think if a 6-year-old explains it to you and you can still understand it, then you've got something pretty special. And to prove that point, I brought along someone... What's wrong?
I'm 8. Not 6, Daddy.
Right.
Issuance plus transaction fees is set to 441 million.
There it is. Yay!
Yay.
Essentially, issuance just means creating something and making it available. And in blockchain terms, that means the generation or minting of new tokens. Now in Harmony, the total reward across the network, which consists of issuance plus transaction fees, will remain constant regardless of average block time or the staking ratio, and will be fixed at 441 million tokens per year. Having a finite supply is of course an important psychological piece of being considered a store of value. It makes it simple for validators to project future earnings and for token holders to project future circulating supply. And it's this predictability that gives the protocol a stable economic base for all stakeholders. So you know at the moment we're doing the coronavirus and we're washing our hands a lot.
No.
So basically when the water comes out of the tap, that's the issuance part. But do you know where the water comes from?
No.
Do we pay for the water?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the transaction fees. So we need to pay to get the water, that's the transaction fee. But the water itself is the issuance. So you combine that together, that's what we're talking about. Make sense?
Yeah.
So there you have it. Issuance plus transaction fees is set to 441 million tokens per year. That's it. It's that simple. Now, simplicity was actually only one of 3 pillars that informed the new economic model. And in the next film, we'll be looking at another open secret, higher staking ratio. But if you missed the first film where we looked into what exactly has changed in the new economic model, you can check that out here. But in the meantime, if you want to talk to us on Twitter or Telegram or Discord, please reach out. We are always happy to talk economics.